Get ready for a thrilling dive into the Cowboys' Vs. Rams showdown in preseason Week 1. We're breaking down the key plays and standout performances from the game, with a special focus on Trey Lance, Mazi Smith, and Jalen Cropper, who shone the brightest. What are the major takeaways for Dallas and LA? Join us as we dissect the action and analyze how these young stars are shaping up for the season ahead. Don't miss out on our instant reaction and expert insights. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for all the latest updates. Hey there, Cowboys Nation. Welcome to Dallas Cowboys Fan, your ultimate destination for all things America's team. Whether you bleed blue and silver or are just starting to catch Cowboys fever, this is the place. If you are a die-hard fan, please make sure to subscribe for more latest news and updates of your favorite team. First things first, let's talk about the scoreboard. The Cowboys came out on top with a final score of 28-24. Now I know what you're thinking, it's just preseason, right? Well, yes and no. While the win-loss record doesn't matter much in August, how we got there certainly does. This game gave us our first real look at the 2023 Cowboys, and there's a lot to be excited about. Let's break down the key storylines from this game, starting with the man everyone's been talking about, Trey Lance. When the Cowboys traded for Trey Lance just before the preseason, it sent shockwaves through the NFL. The former third overall pick got his first chance to don the star tonight, and I've got to say, he showed flashes of why he was such a highly touted prospect coming out of North Dakota State. Lance entered the game in the second quarter, taking over for Cooper Rush. His first drive started a bit shaky with a couple of incompletions, but then we saw that arm talent and athleticism that had scouts drooling back in 2021. On a crucial 3rd and 7, Lance evaded pressure, rolled to his right, and fired a bullet to Jalen Tolbert for a 22-yard gain. That's the kind of play that gets you out of your seat. Overall, Lance finished the night 11 of 17 for 112 yards, with 1 touchdown and no interceptions. He also added 24 yards on the ground on 3 carries. Now, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. There were a couple of throws he'd probably like to have back, including an overthrow to a wide-open Kevontae Turpin in the end zone. But remember, this is a guy who's still learning the playbook and getting acclimated to a new system. What impressed me most about Lance was his poise in the pocket. He didn't look rattled, even when the Rams' pass rush was bearing down on him. There's clearly a lot of work to be done, but this performance should have Cowboys fans excited about the potential of their new Q2. Now, let's shift our focus to the defensive side of the ball and talk about the Cowboys' first-round pick, Mazi Smith. The big man out of Michigan got his first taste of NFL action tonight, and let me tell you, he made his presence felt. Smith played primarily in the first half, lining up at nose tackle in Dan Quinn's defense. While his stat line might not jump off the page, 2 tackles and a quarterback hurry, his impact went far beyond the box score. Smith consistently commanded double teams, freeing up linebackers Leighton Vander Esch and Damone Clark to make plays. There was one play in particular that stood out to me. Early in the second quarter, on a 3-and-2, Smith absolutely blew up the Rams center, driving him 3 yards into the backfield and forcing the running back to bounce outside, where he was met by Dorrance Armstrong for no gain. That's the kind of disruptive force the Cowboys have been missing in the middle of their defensive line. It's clear that Smith is still adjusting to the speed of the NFL game, and there were a couple of instances where he got washed out of plays. But the raw power and athleticism are undeniable. If he can continue to develop his technique and learn from veterans like Jonathan Hankins, Smith could be a game-changer for this Dallas defense. Now, I want to talk about a player who might not have been on everyone's radar coming into this game, but certainly made a name for himself tonight: wide receiver Jalen Cropper. Cropper, an undrafted free agent out of Fresno State, had himself a night to remember. He led all receivers with 6 catches for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. His first score came on a beautifully run corner route, where he created separation from the Rams' cornerback and hauled in a perfectly placed ball from Cooper Rush. But it was Cropper's second touchdown that really got the crowd on their feet. Late in the fourth quarter, with the Cowboys trailing by 3, Cropper lined up in the slot, beat his man off the line, and made a diving catch in the back of the end zone for the game-winning score. The play showed not only his route-running ability, but also his concentration and body control. What impressed me most about Cropper was his ability to get open consistently, whether it was against man or zone coverage. He showed a knack for finding soft spots in the defense and presented a reliable target for all 3 Cowboys quarterbacks who played tonight. With the wide receiver room being one of the most competitive position groups on the team, Cropper certainly did himself a huge favor with this performance. He's gone from a long shot to make the roster to a player the coaches will have to seriously consider as they make their final cuts. While Lance, Smith, and Cropper stole the headlines, there were several other players who caught my eye tonight. Let's run through some quick hits. Sam Williams, the second-year edge rusher, looked explosive off the edge, notching a sack and 2 quarterback hurries. He seems poised for a bigger role in the defense this year. Deuce Vaughn, the diminutive running back out of Kansas State, showed why he was such an intriguing draft pick. Vaughn's quickness and elusiveness were on full display as he racked up 42 yards on just 6 carries, including a nifty 18-yard scamper that had Rams defenders grasping at air. Israel Mukuamu, the converted safety, continued to impress at cornerback, breaking up 2 passes and looking comfortable in coverage. His versatility could be a valuable asset for Dan Quinn's defense. Jake Ferguson, with Dalton Schultz now in Houston, Ferguson looks ready to step into a larger role. He caught all 3 of his targets for 38 yards and showed improved blocking skills. Wania Thomas, the undrafted safety out of Georgia Tech, made several impressive plays on special teams and added an interception late in the fourth quarter that set up the game-winning drive. Now, it wasn't all positive tonight. There were certainly some areas of concern that the Cowboys will need to address as they move forward in the preseason. Offensive line depth, with Tyrone Smith and Zach Martin not playing, the second and third string offensive lines struggled at times. There were several penalties and breakdowns in pass protection that will need to be cleaned up. Run defense, while Mazi Smith showed flashes, the run defense as a whole was inconsistent. The Rams were able to find success on the ground, particularly in the second and third quarters. This is something Dan Quinn will undoubtedly be focusing on in the coming weeks. Penalties, the Cowboys were flagged 9 times for 85 yards. While some of this can be attributed to preseason rust, it's a trend that carried over from last season and needs to be addressed. Red zone efficiency, the offense moved the ball well between the 20s, but struggled at times in the red zone. This has been an area of focus for Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore, so expect to see more emphasis on this in practice. Before we go, I want to hear from you. What were your biggest takeaways from tonight's game? Who impressed you the most? And what areas do you think the team needs to focus on improving? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this instant reaction, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our Cowboys coverage throughout the season. We'll be back with more analysis and breakdowns as we get closer to kickoff.